In Swing Makeover 1, we developed a better hip rotation, especially for seniors or hitters that were jammed on the back leg, maybe had some hip problems or just didn't have the mechanics down properly. We developed a better hip rotation by getting a strong stride, little wind, a strong stride. That enabled us to land on the front foot rather, transfer the weight, and more easily rotate the hips open. In Swing Makeover 2, we're going to go a step farther. And it only makes sense that rather than using a linear step forward to come off the back leg and land and just rotate hard against the front leg, we can get a lot more power, a lot more drive by loading on the rear leg and driving the hips open. Now you can do this in several different ways. One is to simply start in a nice balanced stance, maybe 60-40, weight on the inside of the back foot. And as the pitch comes in, you can go ahead and lower on the leg. You can go ahead and squat, like you're going down for basketball rebound. Squat on the rear leg as you stretch your foot ahead and then drive open. That's one way to do it. You can time by squatting on the rear leg, winding your hips a little bit as you do so, and then driving open off it. When your front leg catches, it'll be converted into a rotation, and you have a very powerful rotational snap of the hips. Another way to do it is to go ahead and preload. That's the way I like to do it. You kind of see Jeff Hall does it. You get the weight on the inside of the foot. Some players put that ramp of dirt there to go ahead and do it. I don't always do that. I just push my knee in. I get the weight on the inside of the rear foot that way and on the front of the foot. And I feel myself with about an eighth of a squat right here. And all the weight is right here. Then you can drive your hips open.
Is yes, but exactly what you talked about. When I'm in my stance, I've got my weight. I've probably got 85–90% of my weight, maybe even a little more than that, maybe 95% of my weight back here. And the reason why is just like you said. If I stand up and I got this leg straight, and I try to drive, that means I got to bend and everything. I got too much movement. Or if I come forward and my leg's straight, I'm gonna be out in front of the ball and lunging at it like we discussed yesterday. So that's a good thing to point on, is getting that weight back here on this back leg. So when you do push, all I'm doing is coming here and driving right through the ball and pushing up. So when I push up, my hips are coming through just with my hands are coming through. Work, even though he's the only guy on the team that's swinging at Mike.
We don't want to do is we don't want to be straight legged with our hip. If we're straight, we have no power, okay? So all we get is rotation. Where if I get this drive, I drive into my rotation.
A lot of my emphasis is on my back leg. That's where I get all my power. Usually by the time I'm done swinging, my back leg is tired, and that's the way it should be, because that's what I drive off of, and that's where I generate all my back speed.
First. I don't know where the ball was. I mean, from Saturday.
I'm not saying that. You got me on that one. I'll give you that.
Like everything comes off my back hip, and that's where all my power comes from. So once the back hip starts to fire, the hands got to go with it, and if the hands aren't keeping up with the legs, then everything's messed up, obviously. So if you can get everything to act as one unit, when you start to come through, when you open your front hip and you pull with your lead arm, then everything's got to catch back up and stay strong.
You ultimately probably get more power from the backside.
Oh, I mean, that of mine, if I'm not getting the power it's because my hips aren't working right. You know, everything's from the back leg and hips.
And you know, few men are built as powerful as you, but then you aren't 6'7" either, you know, so.
I gotta work it with this.
Watch any great hitter, and they're not swinging down like this. The hips always want to open at an up angle. And your front brace leg needs to be out ahead of you, needs to be down firm. You get a good weight transfer, and you're able to drive against it.
Notice in my swing that I keep my body angle back a little more radically than most people. I like to start a little bit more back like this. And as I come forward, I feel like that leaves me in a good position as I start my rotation to rotate around as opposed to coming forward and lunging. This is where I feel like my one flaw, if I go bad, I feel like I come forward a little bit like this as opposed to keeping the upper body back, the body angle correct, and then I'm able to rotate around.
Keep the weight on that back leg as long as possible is really a big key. If I wind here and then I get that brace foot off front, if I hold that right to the last second, I can come off hard and drive up that back foot momentarily because the weight comes off rather quickly. But then you feel your hips explode open. There's a good push backwards, and this hip here just punches right around. If I can get the hips and wrists in sync with that top hand turning over, it's all good. Even though you aren't as dramatic as I am going with the Jeff Hall style of pushing the knee in and getting the body angle back from the start, just that little adjustment of getting your hands lower, getting your hands back down, your elbow down to the slot more, has enabled you to put more weight here, and you were really driving the ball great all weekend.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit older, so I'm not as flexible as you are. What I found on that is I still want to load up back here and drive off of that. Now the back foot will come up, but it's the power of that swing and the hips opening up and really extending out, and the snap on this really gives me a lot of good power, and I was very happy with the consistency.
I think one thing too, Steve, we talk a lot about how the upper body and the wrists have to work in sync with the hips, but if the hips drive more explosive, you know, if we can keep this back longer, then we can do our wind and have this back right in this area to that last minute where the hips release and just really drive open. It seems like your upper body works a lot more automatically, and you don't have to think about it nearly as much.
Well, I'm a big one for making things just simple, and it happens automatically. And once you drive off of that, everything just kind of follows naturally, and that's what I really like about it. Even the snap, I know there's a lot of people talk about different ways of doing snaps, but it just comes automatically and very smooth when you drive off of this, and that's really your focal point when you're back on this. It's a great timing device. It's a good way to look at this and make sure that your contact point is where you're going to get the best benefit from your swing.
On field 2 in about 10 minutes.
Nice, get out!
That's the
I'm done. I'm done. That's it. I'm senior.
It's going to catch a big